Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Magnus. I'm the chief of the Tucson Police Department. I have with me several members of my staff, including Deputy Chief Chad Kazmar. We've asked you all here today to give you an update on an investigation that is well known not only to the Tucson community, but frankly to communities across the country. In April of 2012, 6-year-old Isabel Celis went missing from her East Side home. The Tucson Police Department has actively reviewed and followed up on over 2,200 leads in this case from the day that Isabel was first reported missing. Now, earlier this month, human remains were uncovered from a remote area in Pima County. A portion of those remains were sent to an out-of-state lab. It's an independent lab for DNA analysis. And unfortunately, the results of this DNA analysis did confirm that the remains were those of Isabel Celis. Now, although this confirmation may bring some degree of closure, of course, it also ends the hope of bringing Isabel home safely to her family. The death of any child is a loss to the family and to our entire community. On behalf of our department, I would like to extend our deepest sympathies to Isabel's family. The Tucson Police Department will continue to actively pursue those responsible for any kind of involvement in Isabel's death and disappearance. We're still asking anyone with information about this incident to call 88 Crime, or you can contact the Tucson Police Department. Of course, you can always remain anonymous. Now, as I'm sure you can understand, I have to be very limited in terms of questions and information that I can respond to, but I'm willing to take a few questions at this time.
Chief, can you tell us when earlier this month the remains were found? And was there any other evidence that you could gather at that location?
I can't tell the exact date or location, but I can tell you that the scene was obviously thoroughly processed and a full investigation was done at that location.
What state did you say
So the lab that we used is Bode, B-O-D-E, Cellmark Forensics out of Lorton, Virginia. That's Bode Cellmark Forensics out of Lorton, Virginia. They are a nationally known and accredited lab, and they have the capability of performing different kinds of DNA analysis that our lab here in Tucson, as excellent as it is not capable of performing.
Chief, how much of the remains did you find?
I can't get specific about that.
Chief, what led the tip to investigators that the remains were there?
I'm afraid I can't go into that level of detail.
Can you tell us what DNA you had to compare it to? Was it from a family member or Isabel herself?
I don't know that information, but I do know there was DNA available and an accurate comparison was made.
Do you feel that finding these remains will bring you any closer to closing this case and finding out who's responsible?
Well, we are certainly hopeful of that. This is a very important step in the case. So that's one of the reasons, of course, why we're still asking the public if they have any leads. We believe there may still be folks out there who perhaps know something or feel now that they're willing to come forward with information that could be helpful. So don't assume that we have necessarily all the information. If people have tips, they should absolutely contact either us or 88 Crime.
And what was the description you gave of the scene where you found them? Where?
Rural Pima County.
Was it in the desert? Can you be more specific about the area you found these?
I can't be more specific at this time. I'm sorry.
What part of Pima County?
I'm sorry.
Are you in Pinell or Pima?
Pima County.
What sort of actions do your investigators take at this point? Do you go refresh old contacts, start talking to people all over again? Any of those actions?
Well, this case has been actively pursued over the last 5 years. It has been continuously worked since the date of her disappearance. So we have investigators that are still very engaged in this, and obviously their work continues now with this new information. I'm sorry.
If it was a member of the police department, law enforcement who found the remains, or was it someone else? And was it a tip that led to it?
I'm sorry, I can't provide that level of specificity at this time.
Chief, any idea how long she has been dead?
I don't know that information.
Any suspects now?
I can't release any information about.
Have you spoken to anyone? Is anyone in custody?
No, I can't release information about the status of the investigation beyond what I've shared with you so far. Obviously, I'm sure you can appreciate it's an extremely important case to us. I don't want to provide anything that would compromise our ability to successfully solve this case.
Can you say whether this was the product of a focused search, or it's just a happenstance that they just happened to find the remains?
It was not a happenstance.
So it was the product of a focused search?
There has been an ongoing process of many different searches, and this was not happenstance, but I can't get into any greater detail than that.
But fair to say there was something that led investigators to that area?
Yeah, I can't. I'm sorry. I just can't get more detailed about how we ended up at that location, but it is part of the larger investigation. Yes.
Isabel Celis would have been about 11 and a half years old, and 5 years later, here we are, and this is not what everyone was hoping for. What do you want to say to the people in your community about children, safety? She was taken from her own home.
Yeah, obviously, this is not the ending that any of us had hoped for, but this is also not the ending of the case. We are working this case very aggressively, as we would with any case involving the death of a child. We take cases like this extremely seriously. We appreciate the fact that this case has been very traumatic, not only for the family and friends of the family, but also for the entire larger community. And in fact, the reverberations of this have gone well beyond Tucson and even Arizona, have affected people throughout the country. So, we encourage, obviously, people to report any missing child to us as quickly as possible. We want people to know we take these cases very seriously, and we will continue to work in a very dedicated manner. I really can't speak highly enough of the members of my department who have persevered and worked on this case since the day this child went missing. They've put a tremendous amount of work into it, and I know their work will continue in the months or however long it takes in the future.
How big is that team?
It is a substantial size team. Obviously, the size has varied depending on the leads to follow and the particular status of the investigation at any time, but it's a substantial number of officers and detectives. Yeah, I can't really put an exact number on it, but it's been quite a few members of our agency.
How about the toll on the Tucson Police Department investigating this now for 5 years?
Yeah, I think it's very sad for those who have been investigating this case. Obviously, the hope of all of our detectives and the members of the department, not unlike members of the community, is that this child would be found alive in good health. So we see this as absolutely a tragedy, but it just reinforces our commitment to work our way through this entire case, and that's why I have to be a little limited in what I can share with you today.
Has this discovery at all shifted the focus of Tucson Police or brought any other people to light that maybe you weren't looking at before?
I'm sorry, I can't get into that level of specificity right now.
Chief, have you spoken to her parents?
Our department has been in contact with her parents, yes.
Can you tell me how they're doing?
I think that they are probably the best ones to share their reaction. I wouldn't be comfortable characterizing that on their behalf. I'm sure that they are very emotional, but they really should be the ones to respond to that. Thank you very much. Take care.